picked up another project. This is a 1966 Chevrolet C60. It has the original 20-day temporary tag. Now, I do have an idea for this truck that we could use it as a truck still. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. What do you guys think we should do with this truck? Unfortunately, the whole top of the housing here has cracked. That sounds really bad. I know, I don't need another project car, but it was a really good deal and I really couldn't pass it up. This is a really cool truck and I think we could do something cool with it. I really just don't know what that is yet. So if you guys see this thing behind me, I'll give you a little bit of a walk around to show you guys what this thing's all about. But comment down below, what do you guys want to see us do with this thing? It's kind of a weird one, but let me show you guys what it's all about. This is a 1966 Chevrolet C60, and I picked this thing up from a buddy of mine who actually had found this truck in a barn that has been sitting for a very, very long time. The cool part about this truck was the guy that owned it actually was the original owner of this truck. So this is basically a one-owner truck minus my buddy that had it for a little bit. So this is a really, really neat truck. It's all original. There's nothing that has been changed on the thing, and it is just a workhorse for a local farm that's in the area. So I picked this thing up because it was really solid. To be honest with you guys, I was looking for a C10 that was really cheap, but good luck finding one of those today because they are absolutely ridiculous to find. Even a rotted C10 is $1 million now. So I picked this thing up because it's even cooler than a C10. It's a C60 and I really like the look of the really big trucks. So I thought it was pretty cool. What's pretty neat about these is that the front hood and the cab are basically the same as a regular C10, but they just use different fenders and a little bit of a running board down there, and they make it a big truck. It has a 2-speed rear axle and it has a 4-speed transmission. It was a dump bed truck, so the back actually has a PTO and the bed will dump, which is really cool. It has these terrible split rims on it with Dayton wheels, which I'm really not a fan of, and I really don't want to drive this thing how it is because of the split rims, but we'll try to get past that. The motor that's in this is a 327 small block Chevy. You could get these with the 327 and a 6-cylinder, I believe. I don't think this model had the big block. I think that came a little bit later. So that's the engine options for this thing. It's kind of optioned out for a big truck. It had the V8, it had the 2-speed rear end, the dump bed, and a little bit other features in the inside, which you don't really see. It's pretty neat. This truck is really solid. So the rockers, usually these are completely gone. There's a little bit of a rust starting, but really not that bad. The doors are in remarkable shape and they shut perfectly, which is awesome. So it has been repainted, unfortunately, one time. It looks like it was repainted the original color, and the inside is really complete. They did take the radio out, which was kind of unfortunate, but everything besides that is already here. When you look at the pedals, the brake pedal doesn't really look super worn off. The gas pedal doesn't look like it's in terrible shape. It might have 123,000 miles or 223,000 miles, but they kind of shocked. But I would kind of lean towards 123. But I don't know, maybe it has 23,000 miles. Not really sure, I kind of doubt it, but it's pretty cool regardless. So it's kind of funny, it optioned with the single sun visor here, and you can see on the tag that it weighs 10,300 pounds on an empty weight, which is really, really heavy. Speaking of being really, really heavy, it was really hard to get it here to my house / shop. The guy that I bought it from wasn't too far away from me, and I tried to load it up on our rollback truck, and the thing would not pick it up. It was really heavy. So I had a friend of a friend that moves sheds loaded up onto one of his shed moving trailers, and we got it down here that night, and it was a little bit sketchy. I have some video of us loading it up. I was just really concerned with getting it here, so I didn't really film a whole lot, but I do have some video that I'll put up here. But now that we got it home, we can start to dig into this thing. So you can see it has the gear shifter here with the 2-speed rear end selector here, which I don't think works. I do believe it's stuck in between 2 gears. It doesn't seem like it's going into any gear. The parking brake is here. It does have kind of a complete interior, which is pretty cool, and it has a lot of old license plates and stuff, which it looks like this thing was registered in 1990 and it's been off the road since. So what also is cool is since this is the original owner, it has the original 20-day temporary tag, which is made out of wood, which is pretty wild. So that's pretty cool. It has a bunch of original paperwork. I have the original owner's manual. And so someone had taken off the original glove box compartment tag and put it on the owner's manual. But I'm glad they saved it because it tells you all what this truck has. You can tell it has the 2-speed rear axle. It tells you all the wheel and tire stuff. And it actually has the original wheel and tire carrier, which you can see on the front of the truck. I thought somebody had added that, but it actually was a factory option, which is pretty funny. So it's pretty cool. It's a really original truck. It even was sold with the original title from 1966, which is pretty cool, from the dealer. The guy paid cash for it and he used it for the rest of its life, which is pretty neat. So just structurally, I really like this truck because it is high up off the ground and it didn't really rust that bad. There is a little bit of rust on the door sill here. And then if you can see underneath, usually it's really rotted underneath here. Like the cab mounts are still there. Everything is pretty good shape underneath. On the other side, there is a little bit more rust on the cab mount, but that's not really that big of a deal since the cab is basically the same thing as the C10. Under the hood, everything is there, and I have been messing with this thing. I'm actually filming this video backwards. Somebody has taken the original single barrel carburetor off this and put a 4-barrel carburetor on it, and someone has put an HEI distributor on this. So someone between 1966 and now has been messing with this thing and trying to get it a little bit more modern. It does have a single master cylinder manual brakes, and it has a hydraulic clutch. So that's kind of a little bit weird. I'm gonna have to try to figure out if I can get that stuff even working. So I just wanted to try to get this thing because it was really solid, and it's really crazy to find original trucks like this, especially a Chevrolet, because they seem to be really expensive right now. And the fact that this one was pretty solid, I thought was really cool. You can see the front, it has this spare tire carrier. When I got it, it had the spare tire on it. I took it off just so I could work on it a little bit easier, but it's really funny that it has it on there. I'm not really sure if I like it. It kind of covers the entire front of the truck, but comment down below. Do you think we should cut it off or just leave it because it's original? I'm really 50-50 on it, but anyway, it's cool that it has it still, and I can see why nobody ordered that option. All right, so now that you guys saw the walk around of the truck, before we try to start this thing, I want to get your guys' opinion and try to reason with you guys a little bit, because I can pretty much already guarantee what I'm gonna see in the comments below. So this truck is really cool. It's really original. It's a nice truck, but the reason these things aren't common is because not many people really know what to do with a giant 10,000-pound truck. If you guys watch our channel a bunch, you know that we take old rusty cars like this and try to give them a new purpose and actually use them as vehicles. So now if we were to do one route of this truck, we could try to keep the thing completely original, get the thing running and driving, and spend a bunch of money trying to get the suspension working and everything. But at the end of the day, whenever you put all that money into something, it still rides like a really old truck with dump truck suspension, literally. So that's kind of the dilemma, and I think is a big dilemma for a lot of people that don't want to really mess with these trucks. And I see a lot of them on Facebook Marketplace that are really, really cheap, and that's probably the reason why. Now, I do have an idea for this truck that we could use it as a truck still, and it would be really cool, and you could drive it pretty much anywhere, which I think would be really neat. I think it would be cool to take this thing to shows, drive it across country. We usually go to Southeastern Truck Nationals, we go to C10 Fall Revival, a lot of shows that this truck could be at. But the problem is, just with the state that it is in now, keeping it original, there's no way I'm gonna be able to drive this thing that far. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. What do you guys think we should do with this truck? Should we try to just get it running as is, see how it is? Or would you rather us try to modernize this truck a little bit? We could potentially do a bunch of shows with it. I don't really know. This was a weird one to me because I see why people don't really mess with these, but I do really like them, and I think I could make it really cool. So comment down below, what do you guys think the plan should be with this thing? Should we just try to get it running and sell it and use the money for a different project? Or should we try to make this thing really neat and potentially have a new market for these bigger trucks? Let me know down in the comments below. But now let's try to see if we can get this thing running. It's later in the evening. I got the truck pushed inside the shop so we have some light to be able to work on this. It's a hot one today, so I waited for the sun to go down so I can get this in the shop and I can start taking a look at this thing. Crazy how massive this truck is in perspective to the rest of the cars in here. I don't think I can fit the entire thing in here. It's pretty huge. But I went ahead and I threw a battery in there real quick just to see if we can get anything to start or crank or anything. So my buddy that I got this from, he actually spun the thing over and changed the oil, and it has a new oil filter on and everything. And he said he wasn't able to get anything, like there's no power to the truck. So I threw a battery in there, and I just want to see if we can get any power. Try to just turn like the lights on. Oh, looks like we got some lights. You can actually see the dash is lit up on the back, which is pretty cool. That still works. Let's see if the dome light works. Ah, the dome light works. Pretty cool. So we do have power to the rest of the truck. Let me see if the headlights came on. Oh, yep, we got headlights. That's cool. I don't know. We have high beams and low beams. These aren't coming on. Let's see if we got taillights. Oh yeah, we got taillights down there. None of the side marker lights work, but hey, we don't really need those. All right, so now that we know we're getting power to the truck, let's see if we have anything else. So we got the headlights working. Don't know what that one does. That's the choke. Turn a key on. We got a gauge moving, that's good. Anything else work? Oh, the windshield wipers work. Oh, they don't have windshield wipers on them. Okay, see if this thing cranks over. Nothing. Nothing, no crank. All right, so that might be what he was talking about. See if we can try to go underneath and jump the starter to see if the starter's bad. Might have to pull it out. Usually something that's been sitting this long, just a dirty ground somewhere. So hopefully that's the case. I can go check the grounds. Let me crawl underneath there and see if I can see anything. All right, underneath the truck. Sorry the lighting isn't really the best, but you can kind of see where the starter is. So it looks like it's hooked up. I'm gonna try to jump across the starter there and see if it even works. Well, I was trying to take the cable off because I wasn't getting any continuity to the end of the cable, and it literally just cracked the entire top of the starter off with the stud sticking out of the starter. I really wasn't putting that much force on it. It's very brittle. The whole top of the starter, it's very hard to see, cracked off. So that sucks. It looks like I'm gonna have to get a starter anyway. Hopefully I'm able to find this starter, get the thing pulled out, and then put a new starter and a new cable in there. All right, so I got the starter pulled out of the truck. Unfortunately, the whole top of the housing here has cracked, and I'm kind of wondering if that was the problem. So you can see where the battery connects to the starter on the cable. I literally went to loosen the thing up and the entire thing just cracked. All right, well, it's many days later and I got a new starter in. Now, unfortunately, it's really hard to find starters for these older trucks, and this one looks like it would work, but the bolt pattern going to the engine is wrong. So I had ordered the wrong starter. Now, this one is very close, but it's just different. Now, it's really hard to find starters for these old trucks. Probably try to find the one that I'm looking for, but I just want to see if this thing will work. So I want to try to take this one off and put it on this starter. And hopefully I can get it to work. All right, well, I got the new part on the old starter, so I'm gonna try to test it, see if it works. And I got it put together. I'm jumping it off the Rambler battery. Haha, we got it. All right, it's the next day and we're gonna try to throw the starter in the truck and hopefully this thing will turn over. So we got the whole starter put back together. Gonna try to slap it in real quick, try to look at all the battery connections, make sure they're nice and clean. Throw a new battery in here and see if this thing will crank over. Got my button here. Hopefully this thing will work. That sounds really bad. But it is spinning over. I didn't see any spark. I'm gonna try to hit it again. Nothing, but at least we got it to turn over. It is a few weeks later. I've been trying to track down a starter for the C60. This is the starter out of the C60, and I would hook this thing up and it would sound terrible whenever it was starting over. And I have no idea what somebody had swapped in here. So you guys saw me, I took this thing apart and I put it back together. And then I went to put it in the truck and it didn't work at all. So this thing was getting really hot. I think something internally is just messed up. I don't know if it's from when I pulled it apart or what. But then I got a new starter, and that is in the truck now. I didn't film it because I didn't think that it would work, but it ended up actually working. So what had happened was, I think the teeth on this one are just wrong, because I looked at it compared to the other starter that I got, and they just look completely different. The snout on the front of the starter is a lot shorter on this one, and this one didn't sound like it was engaging all the way. So I'm just wondering if somebody had put this in there and then figured out that it didn't work and maybe just parked the truck, because this whole thing looked like it got really hot before, and it worked kind of, and then once you hook the battery up for a little bit, it just stopped working. Since that starter was so weird, I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it anywhere, but I ended up finding one from like a mid-80s C60, and it looked like the bolt pattern on the nose of the starter was similar. So I went ahead and got it, and I put it in here. Put the new starter in, and the starter bumps over. It works. If I hook the battery up here, hooked it up, hit the button, cranks over. So that's good. The starter's working. I'm gonna unhook this for now. So now I tried to use the key. The key still doesn't work. Everything's hooked up correctly. But if you look at this thing, there's just a bunch of hack wires. Some of them aren't connected. I really just want to see if the thing runs. I don't really care if it starts with the key, and I'm pretty sure that the key is hooked up correctly and everything, so I think there's just a disconnect to the key. Not really worried about that. So I went to start it and I'm getting no spark. So just to bypass all the weird electrical stuff with this thing, I'm running a wire from the positive on the coil directly to the battery and see if I can get spark. There's literally no easier way to do this. So gonna try to hook it up like that and see if this thing will finally get spark. I think it will, because it had it briefly before. All right, we're finally getting spark. I'm just gonna spray some ether in it just to see if this thing will pop off. All right, so the truck runs finally after all this time. So now you can try to get some gas in it and hook a fuel line to it and see if it'll run for a little bit longer. All right guys, after all that, we finally got the thing running. After all the mess with the starter, it ended up working out. That new starter works great. Looks like it engages the teeth all the way. Doesn't sound terrible, so I'm really happy. We can at least have a good platform that we know the motor is good and we know that it should run. So now the next challenge is trying to get it running for a little bit longer and then being able to drive. So hopefully we can try to tackle this thing in a future episode, but comment down below, what do you guys think we should do with this thing? I think it's a really, really cool truck. So it could be a future project on Rustomod, but you're gonna have to find out on a future episode. So thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you on the next one.